Okay, since we completed the basics on the function modules, so we'll work more on the function modules. How to use function modules to write the business logic. Okay, so for example, take this program as an example. So what are we doing here? We have a selection screen and we are using some initialization logic to populate the selection screen inputs as some default values, and we are writing some business logic. Here we are using a select statement, right? So we
Yes.
are selecting some fields from EKKO table. Okay. How can you modularize? How can you modularize this business logic? So here we just have a single select statement. Let's assume it has your business logic and you have to modularize. How can you modularize this business logic using function module? We'll see that. So how many fields we are selecting here? EVLN, BUKRS and AEDAD.
Three,
We are
sir.
selecting three fields, right?
Yes, sir.
For now, I'll just change this program to parameter. So there is a parameter here. So we are using this parameter as an input for this program. Okay.
AED.
I'm removing this. So we have only company code as condition, that is as parameter. Parameter is a single value input, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we'll see how can we replace this business logic with our function module. Okay, I'm commenting this. So if you select data by company code, these are the records, this is the output. Now I want to modularize the business logic for reusability. How can you do that? So this is my business logic. This is my business logic. So create a function module. So what is the input here? What is the input here?
Company, sir.
Company code is the
Company
input.
code, sir.
Company code is the input. What is the output?
Sorry, sir.
What is the output?
Three fields, sir.
Three fields, that multiple
Three.
records or single record?
Multiple records, sir.
Multiple records, right? So it's a
Yes,
internal
sir.
table like structure is the output, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's assume first we'll do it for single record. Okay, how can we do it for single record? Let's assume we are selecting only single record.
EBL.
Let's assume we are selecting only one single record and displaying as output. So how first we'll see how can you create a function module for single record. So it is displaying only one record. It is selecting only one record. Okay. How can you modularize this requirement? Create a function module.
SC37. Go to function. Sir, there is no need of function group, sir.
Yeah, we have already created one function group, right? We can use it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Every time we don't need to create. Okay, I'm giving some name. G demo, select EKKO data, create the function module, provide the function group. Z demo group I have created yesterday.
Seated.
Save, continue. Now, what are the inputs? In importing parameter, what are the inputs I have to define?
Focus.
Company code is the input.
Company code.
Brokers. Okay. So what is the
Yes, sir.
output here?
Three fields.
Output is three fields. Or first, let's assume we are using select star. Select star means all the fields, right?
Yes, sir.
Select star means all the fields with single record. Select single means we are selecting all the fields with single record. Single record
Yes,
with all the fields, right?
yes, yes, sir.
So let's see how we can define return output here. So import. So what is my output here? A single record with all the fields, right?
Yes,
How can
sir.
you
But
define a exporting parameter like this? Type. What is the table? We are selecting EKKO, right?
EKKO. EKKO.
Take the table reference. Take the table reference. Since we are selecting all the records, right?
Yes, sir.
Not sorry, not all the records, all the fields of the record. Here we are selecting only single field.
Single
Please
record.
remember. So now, how this exporting parameter ex underscore EKKO will work? It's like a work area like structure. It's a work area like structure which can accept a single record. Since we are defining it using table name, it can take all the fields of the table. That record contains all the fields of the table, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, in tables, we are not defining the table name.
No,
Is not required, sir.
no, not tables is not required now. Okay. So company code is the input. What is the output?
All the fields in BMN.
All the fields of the EKKO table.
One
Single
record.
record.
Okay. How many?
One.
Yes, sir.
Whatever the fields available in EKKO, all the fields should be available in that single record. This is the output. Now go to source code. Write your select statement. So im underscore bookers is your input. It is a variable like value, single value. So this is a work area like structure. EKK underscore EKKO is. Write your select statement. Select star
Select
from
single star from EKKO. into table at the rate of person
Into
into
EKK.
bacteria underscore
where
where Bogus
Focus
is equal to at the rate of p underscore Bogus.
please remember this is not a valid select single statement. Okay, as per the syntax it will work,
it.
but this is not a proper select single statement because we are not using any primary key fields in the where condition,
Yes, sir.
right? This is just for an
Yes, sir.
example. Okay, if you run the ATC check, you can see some errors in ATC check since we are not using
Yes.
primary key fields of the EKKO table. Okay, I'm just showing you for example. Okay, because with the same company code, what are we passing? We might have multiple records, right? For the same company code in EKKO table, we might have hundreds of records, but we are selecting only one record. We are not defining what is the exact record we need. We have to use your importing parameter name. IM underscore
Yes.
bookers is your input here. What is your output?
EX EKK.
Equal to 0 if the select statement is successful. Then
EX underscore EKKO.
equal to, both are same structures, right?
Double.
Yes, sir.
In importing parameter, we defined the CX underscore EKK with the entire table reference, right?
Yes, sir.
If we take entire table reference, that means select star only. Select all the fields of the table, right?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you don't need a separate work area. You can directly take this exporting parameter here into, it is already defined as a exporting parameter. That's why you don't need to define again. You can also take like this. Okay, you don't need separate
Okay,
condition
sir.
to check, and you don't need separate work area. Activate the function module. Escape sign is missing somewhere. Okay, just need to use escape
EX.
sign.
EX.
Okay, so let's test the function module. There is no data for the company code 300. That might be a wrong value also. Take one company code.
Ten, 11 series after that two.
It's okay, this is the company code. Take this company code H. Execute. So this is the record of that company code. Okay, but here if you observe, we have multiple records with same company code. If you are writing select single statement on EKKO in the where condition, if you are using only company code as input, that is not a valid select statement, right? Because you are trying to select a single record using a non-primary key field. You are not defining that what is the exact record you need. Okay, so that it will just select the first available record. Clear?
Okay, sir. Sir, when we use primary key, repetition is there కదా సార్ అప్పుడు మనకి ఈ ఏ ఫీల్డ్ అవుట్పుట్ వస్తుంది సార్ ఐ మీన్ H355లో ఇంకా ఉన్నాయి కదా సార్ అప్పుడు
Yeah, if you are using non-primary key, it will just select first available record. Okay,
if we are using
or any
primary
random record. If you are not using a primary key, if you use primary key, that means you have to pass the purchase order number, right? Purchase order number is the primary key of EKKO. Purchase order numbers are unique.
okay,
Purchase order numbers
okay,
are unique. They won't repeat. If you pass the exact purchase order number, you will get the exact record. Because
okay, sir.
purchase order numbers, there is no duplicate records by purchase order number. They are all unique, right?
Yes, sir. I got it.
So now function module is working. Let's assume I am passing some invalid company code. It's not returning any data, right? But how can I know in program level? We can check if this value, if ex underscore EKKO is not initial, then you can say there is no data. Sorry, is initial. If it is initial, that means there is no data returning by the function module. Otherwise, we can also add exceptions. How can you add exceptions? Go to exceptions.
Pricing error.
For example, no data. No data available exception. No data available exception. How can you raise the exception? Go to source code. If sy sub rc is not equal to 0. Not equal to 0 means select statement is not successful.
Message.
Use rise. No, we are raising exception here.
Okay, sir.
Rise. What is the exception name?
No data available.
Copy this. This is the exception. No data available. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now test the function module, how it will work. Enter some random value, then execute. What is the exception it is raised?
No data available.
No data available. If you pass a proper value, it should display the output. We have a record and no exception. Okay.
Yes.
So let's call this function module in our program. This is our program, right? So instead of select statement, let's call our function module here. How can you call a function module?
More.
More pattern.
pattern, continue. So this is your function module. What is the input for the function module?
Company code.
PB.
Company
P
code.
underscore B.
Company code is the input. What is the output? What is the output? EX underscore EKKO. So
Yes.
what it will return? A single record
India.
with all the fields, right?
With all the fields.
Now define one work area. Single record means work area, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the type of EX underscore EKKO? Go and
Table.
check.
EKKO,
Go and
sir.
check. Go and check. Okay. It is EKKO.
Okay, okay.
It is EKKO. Take the same type. Whatever the type you are taking in exporting parameter, take the same type here. Okay. Otherwise, it will
Okay, sir.
raise the exceptions. Not exceptions, runtime errors. The type conflict.
WM
Parse the
underscore
work area here. Both are same types, right? Ex underscore
Yes,
EKKO
sir.
is type EKKO and WA underscore EKKO is also type EKKO. Then both are same types. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, okay, it will get the output into WA underscore EKKO. Hmm. We have exceptions, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the first exception? No data available.
No data
Then sub
available.
RC will be 1. If this exception is raised, what is the sub RC value? Sub RC equal to 1.
1.
If the second exception is raised, sub RC equal to 2. Like that. Sub RC value will be depends on the exception number. We'll handle the exception here. If sub RC equal to 1.
No data available. Type here.
We can handle the exceptions in the program like this by using sub RC. If you have multiple exceptions, if we define more exception, we use else if. Else if sy hyphen sub RC equal to
Suburbs.
2. Then some other message. Depends on the exception. Okay. Wrong input or invalid data like that. Okay.
In message we miss them. Them.
Sorry. Yeah.
Else.
Okay. We call the function module and handle the exceptions like this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Clear? If sub RC equal to 0 means function module is successful. If no exceptions raised, what is the sub RC value? What is the sub RC
See.
value? If function module is
Zero.
1
successfully
or
executed. The function module is successful. What is the sub RC value?
0.
0. Okay. Test the
Yes, sir.
program. Okay, so let's test the program. Keep a breakpoint here. Keep a breakpoint at function module call F8 and pass some function company code F8. So now what it will do? If I click on F5, what will happen? If I click on F5, what will happen? The controller will go inside the function module. That is, F5 is step by step, right? Line by line execution, right?
Yes.
If I click on F6, what will happen?
6.
If I click on F6 is function by function. Please make a note, okay? Here, if I click on F5, it is line by line execution and it will go inside the function module and execute the select statement and return back to program. If I click on F6, what will happen? F6 is function by function. If I click on F6, it won't go inside the function module, but it will complete the function module execution and return the output. Okay? It won't go inside the function module line by line. If I click on F6, clear? If I click on
Okay, sir.
F7, it will complete the program execution. It will complete the program execution. F8 also, it will complete the program execution. F7 and F8. When I am in here in this point, let's test F5. I clicked on F5. I pressed F5 and it come to the function module execution. Inside the function module execution, subas equal to 0 and no exceptions got raised, and it will return back to the main program, right? After function module execution. Clear?
Yes, sir.
It return back to the main program and completes the program execution. So we got one single record with all the fields. Execute again. Now I am clicking on F6, not F5. What will happen?
It moved to function mode.
No, it completed the function module execution. It did not enter into the function module, right? But it is completed the execution. And this is the subrc value. And we got the data into w_ekko. Function module executed, but the controller didn't enter into the function module, right?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So if you don't want to debug a complete function module, you can click on F6. Okay? But if you want to debug the function module also, click on F5. We'll show you one more scenario. For example, I'm pressing F5. I entered into the function module. But there are thousands of lines of program is there, code is there. I don't want to debug it. I don't want to debug anymore. I just want to return back to the main program from the function module. What I have to do?
F6.
No. F6 again, it will
F7,
execute step by
7.
step. Click on F7. When you enter into the function module and return back to the main program, click on F7.
That's
Now,
so hard.
it returns back to the main program, right? Without debugging everything. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it will provide you the data. Let's see one more scenario. Click on F5 and we are in the function module. I'm clicking on F8 now. I'm not debugging anymore. I don't want to debug the rest of the code. I just want to come out of the function module. Earlier I clicked on F7 and returned back to the main program. Now I am using F8. What will happen? Let's see. What it did not return to the main program, but it is completed the execution also. Main program execution also. If I click on F8, right?
Yes, sir.
So when we are using in the normal programs without any function modules, you cannot observe the difference between F5 and F6. But when we
Yes,
are
sir.
using the functions, right, you can clearly observe the difference between F5 and F6, because F6 is function by function execution, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
F5 is line by line. When you accidentally enter into the function module, what you have to do to come out of the function module?
F7.
F7. It will come out of the function module to the main program. It returns the controller to the main program. F8 is complete execution. Okay. It is very
Okay, sir.
important interview question. They'll clearly ask you the differences between F5, F6 and F7 and F8. F5 is
Okay, sir.
line by line
Line by line.
execution. F6 is function by
Function
Function.
by
function.
function.
Function. And F7, when you use F7, when you want to come out of
Then we
the
do
function module to the main
function
program,
module.
you use F7. F8 is the complete
Complete
execution.
execution.
Becomes the output.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, internal table also like this only, sir. Instead of the work area, we write
Yeah, I'm about to show
ID.
you. Yeah, I'll show you now. So here we are returning only single record, right? Let's create one more function module to return. I want multiple records. I want multiple records. Let's create one more function module to create to return the multiple records. Just take it as records. Create the function module. Provide the function loop. Input is same, company code only. Okay. Type
Okay, sir.
data element. So what is the output here? So what is my output here?
Internal table, multiple records, sir.
So multiple records. It's like an internal table like structure. The output should be a internal table like structure, right?
Yes, sir.
Go to exporting parameter. We can also use tables parameter for this requirement. Okay. For this requirement, we can also use tables parameter, but in recent versions, right, it is obsolete. Obsolete means outdated. It is an outdated concept, right?
Okay, sir.
It's an outdated concept using tables for the internal table like data. Okay.
Okay, sir.
We are going to use exporting parameter only for this requirement. But if you define like this, ex, or I'll take et just to identify it is a table like structure. Now tell me how et underscore ekko is going to work. Is it a work area like structure or internal table like structure? If I take like this, type ekko.
ఇంటర్నల్ టేబుల్స్ వర్క్ ఏరియా అయితే డేటా ఎలిమెంట్ అని చెప్పారు కదా.
Uh, uh, did I say that? Here we are returning a single record, work area like structure. How we defined it? Type
Table
ekko only, right?
reference.
It is not data
Yes,
element.
sir.
Data
Okay, sir.
element in single variable, single value.
Okay, sir.
Complete record means I am using table only. Now tell me what is the difference here? Now I am taking like this et underscore ekko type ekko. Is there any difference like how it is going to behave? Is it a work area like structure or internal table like structure? Just compare with the previous example and tell me how it is behaving when I defined it using ekko. Is it a work area like structure or internal table like structure in our previous function module?
It's
Uh,
So are you guys listening the class?
yes, sir.
I really doubt.
But
So this is our previous function module to select the data from EKPO table using company code. How many records we are returning here
one record.
in our previous example?
In one record, sir.
One record,
only
right?
one.
So is it a work area like structure
Yes.
or internal table like structure?
Working.
Okay.
If we define type, table name or structure name, it will be a work area like structure. It's not going to be internal table like structure. Here, if you define like this, right? Et underscore ekko type ekko. Now,
Yes, sir.
what
Yes,
is
sir.
this what is this et underscore ekko? Is it going to work as a work area like structure or internal table like structure? If you define
Table
like
record.
this,
Work area, sir.
it is work area only. Okay, it is work area only.
Yes, sir.
To make it as an internal table, what we have to do? We have a concept called table type. We have a concept called table type. We need to create a table type for this EKKO. Okay, go to
Okay,
S11,
sir.
click on data
Data
type.
type.
For example, for example, ZT underscore EKKO. I'm giving that name. Create, select the table type,
Table type.
Table.
select the table type. Enter the line type as EKKO. Okay, what is the line type? Line type is the table name or structure name, EKKO. Click on save and activate. That's it. We created a table type for this structure EKKO. Now, instead of structure name, use table type name here. Now, how this will behave? This
Internal
will
table.
behave like a internal table like structure. It can accept multiple records. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now go to the source code. So you have to create table type. If you want to define an internal table like structure, you have to create a table type. It is same for importing and exporting both. If you want to pass internal table like structure, internal table like data as input, here we are passing only a single value input, that is Booker's company code value. But if you pass a complete internal table data, what you have to do? First you have to create a table type and define, for example, like this. I'll take IT. For example, you are passing EKKO data as input to the function module. You have to define importing parameter like this. Okay. Now we can pass an internal table as an input to this function module. Okay. Clear? Now
Yes,
go to
sir.
source code. Now write the select statement. Select star from EKKO
Into table.
table. Can we directly take this exporting parameter name?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
We can directly take this because both are same types. Where Bookers equal to Importing parameter name.
IM.
I am
Why I'm not
Okay.
using escape symbol at the rate here? Because I'm not using any inline declarations, right? I'm already using existing
yes.
declarations.
The table.
Check the syntax, no syntax errors. Activate, execute. So we have 30 records for this company code, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's call this function module in our program. It is very important. Please observe carefully. So instead of select single, I'm going to call a new function module. Go to pattern, enter the function module name. What is my input?
We understand.
T underscore bookers is my input. What is my output? Is it a work area like structure or internal table like structure?
Internal table.
On a table.
It's an internal table like structure. Define one internal table like structure. How can you define internal table like structure? For example, uh,
Okay.
LT underscore
I take
EKKO type
Type table.
table.
standard table of
Type
EKKO.
standard table of
Full
How
table.
can you know that you have to take EKKO type reference? Go and go to the importing parameter, sorry, exporting parameter and check what is the type of
exporting
this
parameter.
exporting parameter. What is the type? ZT underscore
ZT
EKKO.
underscore
So it is a table type. What is the table you have in inside the table type? EKKO, right?
details.
Take EKKO as a standard table if you are using table type. Otherwise, you can directly take this table type reference in the program. How can you define when you are using table type?
Type standard
This is
table.
how you are going to define an internal table when you are using a line type. That is a table name. But if you are directly
Structure.
taking table type, you don't need to take type standard table of.
Okay, sir.
If you are using table type, the internal table you can define like this. Okay? You don't need to use type standard table of. Clear? But
Okay.
if you don't want to use table type, how you need to define type standard
Standard
table
table
of
of
EKKO.
EKKO.
Both ways are this is also possible. Both are same. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Both are same. Let's pass the internal table name, the function module parameter.
Sir.
Okay?
Okay, sir.
So we'll get the value into LT underscore EKKO, pass that to display the output. Sub R is equal to 0. We're not using any exceptions for now. Okay, you can add the exceptions, just like the previous function module example. You can add the exceptions and you can handle the exceptions here. If sub R is equal to 1, what should happen? And if sub R is equal to 2, what should happen? Like that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Activate. Then execute. So this is the output. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
So now you can call this function module in any number of programs whenever you need to select data from EKKO by company code. Okay. So in a different
Okay, sir.
program, you have a similar requirement to select the EKKO data by passing company code as input. You don't need to worry about the select statement. Just call this function module and pass the importing and exporting parameters. Okay. So when you are calling in the program, what is very important? You have to pass same types. In the calling program, you have to pass the same types like importing and exporting parameters. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what is the type of P underscore bookers? Data element is bookers only, right? Bookers.
Bookers only, sir.
The importing parameter type also should be the same type. Okay. Same like
Yes, sir.
exporting parameter. What is the type of LT underscore EKKO? Type table of EKKO, right? It's an internal table like structure with type reference of EKKO.
Types.
So this should also be the same one. ET underscore EKKO. Go on function module and check what is the type of this. If the same type, then use it. Otherwise, don't pass it. What is the type? ET underscore EKKO. ZT underscore EKKO. What is ZT underscore EKKO? It is a table type which we created. Go and check the line type. Line type is EKKO, right? So you have to
Yes,
consider
sir.
this line type. So this is a internal table like structure since we are using table type. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So today we observed how to create a function module with all the fields when we are selecting all the fields of the table using select star. Tomorrow we'll see how to create function modules with only limited fields. If we need to select only required fields. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Most of the times we used to create that type of function modules only. We don't select all the data from the tables every time using select star. Okay. Tomorrow we'll see how to
Yes, sir.
create function modules to select only required data. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But today create multiple function modules to select data from different tables. Okay.
Okay, sir.